I can't define a hero. All I know is that it's someone you probably don't notice. But when you find out what they did and how modestly they did it, you can never shake off the feeling that you're cut from a lesser cloth. And you find that braggarts suddenly offend you a great deal more than usual. Admiral Yularen tended to fade into the background in Star Wars: The Clone Wars. The ever-suffering commander of Anakin Skywalker's fleet functioned almost as a sidekick, with his most notable trait being his constant irritation at Skywalker's antics. This framing of his character can make it easy to forget that Yularen was a distinguished officer in his own right, a skilled tactician with a long career. Time and time again, he faced certain death from the bridge of his flagship and didn't even flinch, winning battles for the Republic and providing the support necessary for many of Skywalker's crazy gambits to pay off. In this video, we're taking a look at the strategic outlook of one of the Republic Navy's brightest stars.
Attention, Sergeant on deck!
Wolf Yularen was of Coruscanti descent, but he spent most of his life on Anaxis, the defender of the Corps. He was the son of Thul Yularen, a legendary tactician who trained the Republic's best and brightest junior officers, and when he came of age, Wolf followed in his father's footsteps. The younger Yularen studied at the legendary Prefspelt Academy, becoming an expert on military history. After graduating, he chose to serve in the Planetary Security Forces. Yularen started out as a captain in the Quaimar Sector Forces, commanding a fleet in one of the most dangerous parts of the Outer Rim. In the Quaimar sector, Yularen faced off against roving bands of Circadian pirates whom he bested on numerous occasions. He proved to be a fearless commander and quickly climbed the ranks, favored by his superiors for his calm and collected approach to combat. He served as a military advisor in the Battle of Malastare Narrows, where he joined a Republic fleet facing off against Admiral Trench. Since Admiral Trench's fleet included Circadian pirate squadrons, Yularen's expertise proved crucial to the Republic's victory in that terrible battle. During his time in the Quaimar Sector forces, Yularen was repeatedly hampered by intelligence leaks and corruption in the lower ranks, which frustrated him immensely. He became almost obsessed with security and anti-corruption measures, which led him to leaving the Quaimar Sector forces and joining the Senate Bureau of Intelligence for a time. In the SBI, and later in Supreme Chancellor Palpatine's personal anti-corruption task force, Yularen did his best to put a stop to the many illegal dealings that went on in the Senate, though corruption within the SBI itself continued to hamper his efforts. In frustration, Yularen retired to Anaxis, but at the start of the Clone Wars, he was coaxed out of retirement when Palpatine offered him a commission as an admiral. During the Clone Wars, Yularen served as one of the Republic Navy's most competent officers, respected by both the Jedi and by the likes of Admiral Tarkin. In action against the Confederate Navy, Yularen used the same calculated approach he'd used against the Circadians, to devastating effect. However, Yularen's time in the SBI also influenced his tactics. His work in intelligence gave him an eye for traps and feints, enabling him to more easily determine what his enemies were planning. Admiral Yularen focused on the big picture, and this gave him a knack for keeping sprawling, large-scale operations coordinated. In the Second Battle of Geonosis, for example, Yularen was put in charge of coordinating one of the largest planetary invasions the Republic ever carried out, all from the bridge of an assault ship that was continuously harassed by Geonosian fighters throughout the early stages of the battle. On Geonosis, the invasion plan drawn up by the Jedi at the outset of the battle initially went awry, scattering or incapacitating the Jedi present for the initial landing. While Commander Cody hastily reorganized Republic ground forces into a defensible formation, Yularen had to contend with swarms of Geonosian fighters and ground-based anti-air guns that were wreaking havoc on the Republic invasion force. The odds were against the Republic, but Yularen, through cool and collected leadership, still cleared out the Geonosians and provided crucial air support to Cody's troops at Point Rain. Yularen spent the entire opening stage of the battle juggling unexpected crises, and he still managed to neatly resolve pretty much all of the Republic's tactical problems early on. Like Commander Cody, Yularen was a bit of a conservative commander. He preferred to avoid the flashy gambits the Jedi were fond of in favor of cautious, simple, well-planned maneuvers that didn't waste resources. To Yularen, a victory that came at a high cost wasn't much of a victory at all, as he knew the resources and men lost in such a battle would end up hurting the Republic in the long run. For this reason, he was always cautious not to overextend his forces and wasn't afraid to call for a retreat if he found his resources spread too thin. During the Battle of Ryloth, for example, he called for Republic forces to retreat as soon as Separatist reinforcements arrived in orbit, much to the ire of young Ahsoka Tano, who insisted on keeping up the attack. The Republic eventually won the orbital battle over Ryloth, but Tano's initial refusal to retreat cost the Navy dearly, and the outcome of the battle came very close. If she'd listened to Yularen, the Republic victory would have been much less costly. Of course, there were very few instances in Star Wars: The Clone Wars in which Yularen was acting of his own accord. In most of his appearances, he was serving under Anakin Skywalker, whose brash and often reckless tactics nearly drove the poor Admiral insane. Yularen and Skywalker couldn't have been more different from each other, and that made them an excellent team. Even if Yularen was too cautious for Skywalker's tastes, and even if Skywalker's chaotic approach to combat single-handedly made Yularen hate the Jedi, they worked well together, and with one man's weakness being the other man's strength. Without Admiral Yularen, Skywalker's daring gambits wouldn't have paid off nearly as often, because Yularen's careful control of resources and deployment provided crucial support in the heat of battle. Yularen held Skywalker's fleets together while he was busy with his crazy plans, keeping everything organized and ensuring the rest of the fleet was always ready to provide fire support or cover, for Skywalker if necessary. When Skywalker's plans went sideways, Yularen would swoop in and save the day. When Skywalker's plans were successful, Yularen made sure the rest of the fleet was ready to follow through and capitalize on his success. Consider the Battle of Bothaway. That battle came at the end of a long campaign against General Grievous, which saw Skywalker and Yularen's fleet whittled down to a mere 3 Star Destroyers and chased to the edges of the Both system. Without Yularen's careful management of the fleet's resources, it's doubtful they would have gotten that far. Now, as you all likely remember, Skywalker bested Grievous in the Battle of Bothaway by deploying AT-TE walkers on the rings of the gas giant Golem, which fired on Grievous's ships from behind as they passed through the asteroid field. But this strategy wouldn't have been successful without Admiral Yularen, who managed the bulk of Skywalker's fleet during the battle. While Skywalker's attention was on the advancing cruisers, Yularen held the rest of the fleet together, keeping it in formation even as Grievous began his attack. Yularen's support was also crucial to Skywalker's success in the Battle of Christosis. Yularen, as you remember, volunteered to join Skywalker on a stealth ship bound for the planet's surface, which Skywalker ended up using to attack Admiral Trench's flagship, the Invincible, head-on. Yularen's knowledge of Trench's tactics proved invaluable to Skywalker at Christosis, helping him outsmart Trench and break the Separatist blockade. Yularen went on to command Republic forces in clearing out the remnants of the Separatist fleet at Christosis, holding position in orbit even when Separatist reinforcements showed up. Admiral Yularen is an incredibly underrated character in our opinion, and we might make more videos on him in the future. If you'd be interested in that, or if you have any other thoughts, let us know in the comments section below. And as always guys, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.